Welcome to this video. We're going to walk through building a sales tracking dashboard step by step. We're going to be building on a platform called Gecko. We're going to use Google Sheets, Zapier, and going to connect that to Gecko Board to visually display a few different things. So I've already started to build this, and then when I got through the first part of building, I'm like, let me share this. So I'll recap what I've already built and show you how I built it. And then from there, you can follow along as we continue to add on to it. So we're doing it one piece at a time. And so there's actually some changes I'm going to make that I figured out a better way to do it. So you'll get to see me redo that. So here is an example of the dashboard. So it's going to be for the sales team for one of my clients, reverseselling.com. They're a real estate coaching company. They've got 4 guys on the sales team. They have a YouTube channel that's booking in, dozens and dozens of calls per day. And we're tracking their, cash collected, calls booked per rep to date. So the first board that we're building is the month to date board. Then we're going to build the year to date board, just with the core metrics that Brandon, the owner of the company, wants to see. Like, there's only a few metrics he wants to see at a glance in real time. And so we're building that first. And then the last part of this is we're going to build a more advanced dashboard with, more advanced, pace and run rate and all that kind of stuff to really track the deeper analytics of your sales team. And so you're more than welcome to follow along. And if you want help with this, if you want me to build something custom like this for you, or you want to work with me one-on-one to create custom solutions for your business, hit the link in the description below. We can get on a call and chat and see what might be able to help you. And if you are a one-man band, or maybe there's just 1 or 2 people on your team, you do not need something this complicated. I'm going to be making some more content on my operating system that I actually use in my business called the Lab operating system, the Lab OS. And there's something that we are using. This is a sample that I always reference. Once it loads here, but this is a much simpler way of being able to track this for yourself. If it's just you or one or 2 other people on your team, you want to be able to run everything out of one place. So I'm talking managing your clients, your past, your finances, your content, your tracking, your day-to-day journal, like everything, your habits should be out of this one system. And so I'm going to be making more content on this operating system and how you can use it. Let me show you an example of a sample dashboard that's a little bit more filled out in here that will help you to be able to see how this might work, right? So, and a lot of it is automated too. So I'm going to show you how we automate the Gecko Board dashboard, and you'll be able to do the same with this. But this is going to kind of be like your personal dashboard, or the dashboard for you and a couple other people on your teams, where you can track everything in your whole life, all of your assets, your home, your cars, any investment properties, non-traditional assets like email lists, whatever the case may be. You'll be able to track all of it through here. And the key thing is it's not only qualitative, but it's quantitative as well. And so we'll be able to drill deep into the data and say, let's say this is for an example of your workouts, right? You could track your overall health and workouts on this dashboard and break down and drill into the days and get more quantitative and qualitative data based on the metrics that we have. So this is another version that I'll make future videos on inside of Smart Suite, where we build out this entire ecosystem for you to run your whole business. But for now, this is going to be for those of you who have a bigger team, who have more people, and you want to automate as much of it as possible. We want to minimize the data entry based on the salesperson and automate as much as we can to where the only thing the sales rep has to do is disposition the deal, and then everything else will happen. So with that, let's get into the back end of this. So this is going to be the brain. This is going to be the Gecko brain. And essentially, for now, what we're doing, and we're going to, again, add on to this, but the way we're doing this is we are going to be breaking it down by closer, by the offer, and then whether it was a paid in full or if it was a split payment. And then we're going to differentiate between new cash collected and recurring cash collected. So that's how we're going to get the data. And then based on that, we can do the calculations to see the percentage of new cash collected versus payment plans, the percentage of the payment plans complete. So that's going to be the last part of this, some of the more advanced analytics. But for now, we just want to be able to see how much did the closer collect today, this month, and so far this year, right? And then what percentage of, was that how many paid in fulls versus how many payment plans? And then how many rollover payments came in this month? So we want to differentiate new cash versus rollover cash. And that's it. And then we want to be able to calculate it month to date and year to date. So the way we're going to do that, right now we have set up inside of Zapier, we have this set up with each salesperson processes their payments through their own custom link. So there's 4 sales guys. There's 2 payment plans per sales guy, right? There's the paid in full link and then the split payment link. And so we have a Zap set up for each of those individual links so that we can differentiate and be able to track, like who did what essentially. And so going into this, a lot of this is going to be working. So there's going to be some silent spaces here as I'm pulling things up. So put this on 2x speed, pause, rewind, whatever you need to do to make this bearable. But this is going to be very valuable for you. And so we are changing this up a little bit here. So I need to find this here. These are all the call scheduled links. I just need to go to all the zaps. So, okay, so here's all of the payment links, the zaps that the salespeople have, right? So what we're going to do now is we're going to just edit this. So I had it all in one. I'll show you actually. I had it all in one, but the problem is going to be that I noticed is, let's see, where did that go? Where did that go? Here we go. So whenever a deal closes, so I had it on one zap. And again, there's always, some of you might watch this and be like, oh, it's easy, he's missing something, but I want to keep it as simple as I can. So the new payment comes through. Well, each sales rep has a different payment link, and then there's some like obscure links that sneak through that we format. So we only continue this if it matches, the paid in full or the 3 payment link. And then from there, we reformat the date and time. And then we reformat the text. But here's the problem, right? The name of this offer is different in length than some of the other offers. So when I'm pulling the 5th field of this input, let me edit this and show you. So, okay. So it's a text formatter, right? So the output, so it splits up all the text, because I need to get on this sheet the salesperson's name. So then we can attribute in the Gecko board the deal was to them and then calculate their closings. Problem is, so like it breaks out each individual output, right? Well, so if I'm using output item 10 to throw that into here, if there's a different payment link that comes through that is only 9 outputs or 12 outputs, then it's going to be a different thing here. So that's going to get messed up. So what we're doing instead, it's a couple of extra steps, but it's going to ensure the accuracy. Once you set it up, once you're done, it's going to ensure the accuracy of the right salesperson getting attributed the closing. So what we're going to do, I'm going to go to my zaps. I'm going to do one of them right now. I'm going to show you one of them. And then I'm going to build the rest of them out just so you don't have to sit here and watch me do all of them. So here we go. So we're going to edit this. Create a new draft. So when the new order happens, then they're going to grant access. Then I'm going to split text. So I want to reformat it so I can get all the information. So go formatter by Zapier. Choose an event. Text. Okay, and then we're going to continue. Then I want to find where it says split text. And then the input, we're going to take the name of this offer title. Okay. And actually, let me make sure. New purchase, account, trigger. Okay, it's going to be this specific one. So that's good. So it's the paid in full. So it's exactly what I want. Okay, and then we're going to test. No, so I need to redo this. I got to retest all of these. Here we go. Let me find a new record. Boom. Okay, cool. So you want to make sure that the test record you have matches what you're looking for, just to ensure that it's going to match with the name, right? Matter of fact, let me just think here. Yeah, so that's exactly all right. So a lot of you may not like this message. I was just processing a video and it popped up on us here. Watch this video next. Okay. So I'm going to continue with that record now. We're going to test this all the way through. Continue. Okay, let me retest this step. Output, no. See, so I have to change the separator is going to be a space. Okay, you have to do segment index. You want to make sure it is all. All is a line item. So then what it'll do, so retest. So then you're going to get each thing as a line item. And so now I have his name based on his link. And so now what we're going to do, okay, that's perfect. I'm going to add a step. Now we're going to send it to the sheet. So, and I'll show you the sheet, by the way. So this is what we're doing with the sheet. So for now, we've got the date, the name of the closer, the name of the offer. And then if you want the customer's data on there, you can put the customer name, the customer email. If it was a PIF, okay, what the revenue was. So let's say you have an $8,000 product. If it's paid in full, it's $6,500. But if they do payment plans, it's $8,000. So they save money on a PIF. So we want to be able to track the total revenue versus the new cash collected, if that makes sense. So total revenue versus new cash collected, and then a recurring cash. This is going to be where like rollover payments, or the 2 months, 3 months, or however many before. As those stack up, we're going to put those payments in here that come through, just so we can then be able to attribute to that. And then this is just a formula that sums up all the cash collected. So this is going to sum up for month to date. So it's filtering by. So this is for Ron cash collected. So it's essentially saying if the closer's name is Ron and the date is within this month, then sum, right? So feel free to copy this formula. You can also use this this is how I got the formula, Ask Gemini. You can use that to be able to extract whatever formulas you need. And then you can do the same thing for year to date or whatever the case is. So that's all there. And so what we're going to do now is keep down this path of sheets. So I'm going to add my sheet to it. Okay, we're going to add a row, create a spreadsheet row, continue that, choose your account. So you're going to have to sign into your account. Continue that, choose your drive, choose your spreadsheet. Mine should be at the top here because I've been working on it. Yep, Gecko Brain, worksheet value. I'm going to send it to closings. And now we just match it. The other thing I have to do in here that I didn't realize, I need to match the date format. So this is going to be the format of our date. So we're going to add another format here. Formatter. Date time. Boom. We're going to select. So we're going to transform format. And the input is going to be from our order. It usually gives it to you in an ugly way, right? With this weird way. We want to format it to, let's see, I think it's going to be this. Month, date, year. Let's double check that. Month, date, year. Yep. Okay. Perfect. Okay. To, just put it to your time zone. We're Eastern. We're going to put it to Eastern time. Not that you're using the time. And then hit continue. Test. Cool. Now there's our clean date. So now we're going to add that back over to actions here. We're going to add that date that we just grabbed right here. So now our date's going to be clean, our closer name. And I realized too, we can actually just type the closer name in here, but I wanted to format this just so everything was equal based on the data we already had. So then we're going to just grab the output. I want the individual output actually. So what happened there? So I've got this. I want them all to separate, all separate fields. All right, separate fields, not a line item, separate fields. I didn't see that down there. We want it to be separate fields. And then we're going to get each individual one as an output item. So that's my fault. So we're going to add that. We're going to go to our action, closer name. Here we go. So then you want the person's name in this scenario. And again, however you get the name, if you only have one or two people or you name your links different, I'm just showing you how they have it set up for us to get the name out. Offer title. And customer name, you can get that data if you'd like. This scenario was a PIF, so we're going to put a 1 there just so I can calculate, I can add how many PIFs, right? So there's going to be a 1 there if it's a PIF. Paid in full, if it's a paid in full. Okay, the revenue. It's going to be the amount that was collected, right? In this scenario, if it was a payment plan, it's going to be different. You're going to type that number in. Because the payment plan, the revenue is different than the collected, right? Total amount paid, total amount paid. Oh, I want decimal here. The revenue is going to be different than the amount collected. Decimal. Bang. Okay. All right, so then I continue this, and then I can test this step. And then we should be good. So that should have gone onto the brain. Boom. So, and I actually put this in the wrong spot here. Oh, no, we're good. So that's revenue versus that. Okay, cool. So that's how we set that up. I'm going to do the same thing with the other ones, and then we'll come back to the next steps. All right, so the next part of this I just added was a formula to sum the total cash collected today. So I went back and forth with Gemini to find the right formula. And so this is the formula, sum if. It's essentially saying sum this number if the date, let me make sure that's covered, if the date is today. And so we did that, and this is it. So now I'm going to show you how to connect that to Gecko. So this is going to be the same thing for all of the other data that you're processing and how to connect it with Gecko. So here is the dashboard I showed you earlier. I'm going to add a widget somewhere. I'm going to reformat this to look nicer, but I'm going to add the widget here. So we're going to go to add widget. We're going to connect our data. So it's going to be from Sheets, from our Gecko brain that we've already connected. There's some steps for you to follow to connect it. Super easy, super simple. I'm going to change this sheet down here to closings. And then it's going to bring it up. So this is the full sheet. And then it should have our new column on there that we added, total cash collected today. So this is going to be just this, keep single cell. I want just this single cell, because that's going to be updated in real time. If it is today, it's going to sum only the new cash collected today. So that is the only cell that I want selected. And I'm going to continue. And there we go. So there's our new widget. New cash collected today. Okay. Let's go to add to dashboard. Perfect. And then what I also want to add is new calls scheduled today. So what we're going to have on our brain is our calls scheduled. We're going to have the date that the call was booked in. So we're going to see how many calls that were booked in today versus how many calls are due for today. Those are two different things. So we want to see how many calls per day we're booking, and then how many are actually showing up. And then we can do some math to see what the show rates are based on this position. So that's going to be the next part of what we do. All right, so now we're going to add our call bookings to the sheet. So I showed you that a second ago. We have the Zap set up. Literally, like if you have a sales team, what you can do, I'll show you here in a second. But we have one Zap set up to get all of the data from all the calls, and we add it to our other systems. So we add it to our follow-up boss, which is our CRM, our active campaign. And then it's going to split to the right person and their right Zoom account. We have a little bit of a complicated process in that. But for you, all you need is this Zap right here, Invitee, created, and Calendly. And then from there, you're going to be able to do some formatting if you needed to. But what we're going to do is we're going to just add this to the sheet. Again, we're not going into all the little details because your business is probably a little bit different than some of these processes. I just want to make sure you know how to get the data onto the sheet, because that's what this is run off of. Just the initial input needs to get onto the sheet, and then we can display it on the dashboard. So we're going to add a step here. We're going to add our sheets. Same thing as last time. We're going to create spreadsheet row. Go ahead and continue that. Choose our account. Choose the right account. Continue that. Choose our drive. Choose our spreadsheet. Got our brain. And we're going to choose, in this case, closings. Nope, not closings. Calls scheduled. So now it's going to reflect what we saw on the sheet over here. I'm going to move this out of the way. So we're just going to get our data. So call booked date, right? So we've got call booked date. This is the output. I'm going to flip that output. Actually, I had that different last time. Let's do here. Let's change that output to what I actually want it to be, which is this. Continue, retest. Okay, I'm going to flip this one around. Originally, I was sending them directly into Gecko Board, into their data sets. But what I found out is that you can't edit the data sets once you create them. So we want them on the sheet so we have flexibility to be able to edit the formulas or anything we want to change or add or remove or whatever. You want that flexibility. And so we are redoing all of this to come onto the sheet rather than the data set. So perfect. Those are both really good. Okay. Now we're going to, again, add it to the sheet. So we're going to go to our action here. So we're going to go to call booked date. Okay. Call booked date is this. Call scheduled date is this. Again, we're not tracking the time necessarily on this. We just want the rough numbers in terms of booked versus scheduled, the date. And then we're going to go closer name. So this is going to be pulled from Calendly, which is going to be the the event membership's username. Okay, so we're going to see the name of the user from who was assigned the call. Okay, and then if you want, you can get this data as well. We're not going to throw it on the sheet. And that's it. So we're going to continue. We're going to test this step. And then if we go over to our sheet, we should now see that it is there. Okay, now it's coming over in a weird format, so we're going to have to reformat this cell. Let's try that again. I don't know why it did that. Let me see. Let's see. Why did it come out like this? So we've got an interesting problem to solve here together. Let's test this, retest this step. Format is empty. Data out. Okay. So when we added that to our sheet, the output came over as this. So it should have came over this way. Let's go to, inside of here, we're going to go to formatting. Let's go to format. We're going to go to number. We're going to go to date. There we go. So for some reason, my spreadsheet was formatted weird. I don't know why. It did it on automatic, but that's all we had to do is that. And then I'm going to get rid of, this here as well. Oh, I want reset. And I want my text to be black. Okay. So that's exactly what we want then. We just want the call booking date. And then, yeah, I'm going to add the customer's information just so I can attribute to that person, but I'm not going to show you that. So you're going to want to add the customer information too, just so you have context as to who it was, what it was, and then one more field that I'm going to add actually, just for better attribution. It's going to be the event ID. I want to have the event ID because from there we can do some more advanced stuff with like check the event ID and then see if it's a first time booking or how many times they've booked. So you can do some more stuff. So that data is valuable to have. It's not 100% essential, but it's just nice to have. So I'm going to add that to this sheet, and then we're going to go over and put it onto the dashboard. All right, so now quickly though, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the math to be able to get calls booked month to date, calls scheduled month to date, and then we're going to do that for each individual salesperson. And then we'll do calls scheduled and booked today. So we'll go ahead and add one to the right. Calls booked today. And we'll say on the right, calls scheduled for today. And then we're going to do that for each individual salesperson as well. So we'll do Ron, calls booked month to date, so on and so forth. And so we will just go ahead and duplicate this for each salesperson. Boom, boom, boom. And we'll say Ben. So you're going to add your salespeople. Then we're going to do the formula to Matt, Peter. And then we're going to add the formula similar to the last one that will allow us to do those sums. So I'm going to pull those formulas up and we'll walk through those. All right, so back to this. So here's the formulas for calculating the calls booked, calls scheduled, month-to-date total for the whole team, booked today, scheduled for today. I'll keep that there. Boop, boop. And then by the sales rep. Okay, so here's the formula. So this formula is going to count. It's just counting the number of records. If the month in that column is today's month, same thing for the call scheduled. Now for the calls booked, it's going to sum. I added a counter here. So it's just going to be a 1 for each record. So that way we can sum. It's a little bit easier to do math summing it. And so for this calls booked today, it sums if this record, the column A, sums if it is today. All right. Same for this. And then now the other part, this was a little bit of a harder part, but once you know the formula, it's easy. So this is going to sum based on this filter, essentially saying this is going to be for Ron. So it says if Ron is the closer name and the date is this month, then sum this counter, right? So it's going to sum these numbers if the date is this month and the closer name matches that closer. So now we have our formulas. We can add that to the dashboard, and then that's going to conclude this video. So let's go back to our dashboard. And now that we have all of the data here, we're going to add, I'm going to get rid of these. This is old data. So I'm going to delete these, delete this, and delete this. All right. So now, you can make it look pretty, add their pictures, whatever, but we're going to add a widget. We're going to go to our sheets, grab our brain. Okay, and I want to go to the called scheduled sheet. Oops, see if it's going to load. Okay, perfect. Now we're going to firstly let me just keep this data covered. Firstly, we're going to do Ron calls scheduled month to date. So I'm literally just going to select this column, and I'm going to keep it as a single cell because as all of these cells are updated, it's going to, again, filter by the right thing. So we're just going to have based on this cell. We're going to continue. And we'll just name it Ron calls, or we'll just say Ron calls month to date, right? Calls booked, right? Boom. And then from there, you can format it. Obviously, we're just doing a counter, but if you were doing cash, you can format it. Okay, and that's going to add to our dashboard. And I'll move this, and we'll just add it to his dashboard. Boom. So that's there, and then I'll add one more just to show you. It's pretty straightforward. Once you do one, you know how to do all of them. The hard part is getting the sheet and that data right. But once you're there, you're there, right? So we're going to do the same thing. We're going to go over to calls scheduled. I'll cover this information. And what we will do is we will get the total. So now I just want to get the total for everybody. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We can see there's 5. I want to keep this single cell. I'm going to continue. And we'll say calls scheduled, all calls booked month to date, right? So it's going to sum up all of the calls booked across the whole team month to date based on that data. And then I'm going to fit it right into here next to this guy. So I'm going to have like totals across the top, and then just the salesperson stuff across the bottom. So we're essentially, for now, all they want to see is like how many calls were booked, how much cash was collected for the month, and then for the day, right? Across each person, and then across the total. So that's going to conclude this part of the video. The next part of the video, part 2 of this, we're going to go and I'll show you how to duplicate this dashboard for like year-to-date stuff if you wanted to. And then from there, we're going to get into more of the granular metrics, like calculating the closing percentage, like cost per call booked if you're doing any advertising, cash collected per call. So we'll break down some of the other formulas in the next video so you can have a more granular dashboard to track your whole business.